Welcome to Victory News Tonight for Tuesday, August the 12th, 2025. I'm Greg Stevens along with Mike Garofalo, Fiora Hernandez, and Tim Fox. Here are a few of the stories that we're watching for you tonight. Did California Senator Adam Schiff really ask to leak sensitive information to hurt President Donald Trump? We'll ask retired Marine and Vetcom CEO Kate Monroe if she believes the whistleblower allegations. And China seems to be playing nice, giving President Trump motivation to extend their tariff deadline. Ahead, we'll talk with political commentator and author of the book, The Coming Collapse of China, Gordon Chang, about U.S.-China trade and much more. But first, let's go to Fiora Hernandez with our headlines. Fiora.
Thank you, Greg. Some positive economic news announced this morning and some not so good news this afternoon when we found out the national debt has passed $37 trillion. This morning, the Consumer Price Index for July, which measures inflation, came in at a better than predicted 2.7% compared to 1 year ago. According to the White House, gas prices finished July 10% lower than they were 1 year ago. Meanwhile, on Truth Social today, President Trump once again called on the Fed to lower interest rates, writing, quote, Jerome "Too Late" Powell must now lower the rate. Steve Mnuchin really gave me a beauty when he pushed this loser. The damage he has done by always being too late is incalculable, end quote. The president went on to say he is considering suing Powell because of the grossly incompetent job he has done with the over-budget construction of the Federal Reserve buildings. In other financial news today, both the tech-heavy NASDAQ and the S&P 500 closed at all-time highs. President Donald Trump on Monday tapped conservative economist E.J. Antoni to serve as the next commissioner of the Bureau of Labor Statistics. He made the announcement on Truth Social saying, "Our economy is booming, and EJ will ensure that the numbers released are honest and accurate." Antoni is the top economist at the Heritage Foundation and, according to The Hill, had previously criticized the Bureau of Labor Statistics data and its former leader, Erica McIntyre. CBS News reported Antoni blasted the BLS for low response rates and questioned its methodology. Trump ordered the removal of McIntyre earlier this month after July jobs numbers showed lower than expected hiring and major downward revisions to jobs reports in May and June. Mike?
Fiora, the chairman of D.C.'s Metro Police Department Union is publicly supporting President Donald Trump's decision to federalize the city's law enforcement and deploy the National Guard into the nation's capital. The endorsement came on Monday, the same day the president declared Liberation Day for D.C., announcing the federal takeover because violent crime continues to run rampant in the city.
They'll immediately begin massive enforcement operations targeting known gangs, drug dealers, and criminal networks to get them the hell off the street, maybe get them out of the country, because a lot of them came into our country illegally. They shouldn't have been allowed in. But some of these people, a lot of them, are homegrown criminals. And these are bad people. These are rough people.
In response to Donald Trump's move, Union Chair Greg Pemberton said this: "We stand with the president in recognizing that Washington, D.C. cannot continue on this trajectory. Crime is out of control, and our officers are stretched beyond their limits." And during President Trump's press conference on Monday about federalizing Washington, D.C., United States Attorney for the District of Columbia, Jeanette Pirro, did not mince words.
Mr. President, I want to thank you for taking the step that we need right now to make criminals understand that they are not going to get away with it anymore.
And Pirro stressed that soft on-crime laws and policies that include no cash bail have contributed to a surge in youth-related crimes.
I can't touch you if you're 14, 15, 16, 17 years old and you have a gun. I convict someone of shooting another person with an illegal gun on a public bus in the chest, intent to kill. I convict him. And you know what the judge gives him? Probation.
The judge then said this about the 15-year-olds arrested in the assault of a former DOJ staffer during an alleged carjacking earlier this month.
They go to family court and they get to do yoga and arts and crafts. Enough. It changes today. Thank you, Mr. President.
Pirro emphasized that current laws will be changed to focus more on accountability. Fiora.
Mike, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt covered a host of topics at today's White House briefing, starting with the upcoming meeting between President Trump and Putin.
On Friday morning, President Trump will travel across the country to Anchorage, Alaska, for a bilateral meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin. The brutal war between Russia and Ukraine broke out under Joe Biden's incompetent leadership. But President Trump is determined to try and end this war and stop the killing.
And new statistics just released from Customs and Border Patrol show the president's successful efforts to secure our border.
For the third month in a row, not a single illegal alien was released by the Trump administration into the United States of America. This is historic. Under President Trump, this border is the most secure it has ever been.
The press secretary also said the federal oversight and surge of law enforcement into Washington, D.C. had already yielded 23 arrests with 6 illegal handguns seized. A U.S. district judge has denied a Department of Justice request to unseal the grand jury material from Ghislaine Maxwell's case. The Daily Caller reports the Obama-appointed judge, Paul Engelmayer, stated that the grand jury materials only mentioned child sex offender Jeffrey Epstein and Maxwell in connection with alleged sexual contact with a minor and do not identify any other individuals, according to the ruling. Engelmayer criticized the DOJ request in his ruling, stating, quote, its entire premise that the Maxwell grand jury materials would bring to light meaningful new information about Epstein's and Maxwell's crimes or the government's investigation into them is demonstrably false. Engelmayer said that since the government acknowledged much of the information is already public, there is no valid reason to release the grand jury documents. Greg?
New whistleblower allegations have California Democratic Senator Adam Schiff under the magnifying glass again. Just the News reports the alleged whistleblower is a seasoned intelligence officer who worked for Democrats on the House Intelligence Committee. That person is said to have repeatedly warned the FBI beginning in 2017 that then Representative Schiff had given the green light to leak classified information to smear then President Donald Trump over the now debunked Russiagate scandal. Just the News founder John Solomon says that the source is credible.
Listen, this whistleblower literally sat in a meeting, he tells the FBI, where Adam Schiff authorized the leaking of classified secrets to dirty up Donald Trump and to try to build towards either a select committee in Congress or a special prosecutor.
The FBI memos released by Director Kash Patel and obtained by Just the News say the whistleblower was told not to worry about the potential criminal act because Schiff believed he would not be spared prosecution. This revelation comes at a time when Schiff is being referred to the DOJ for possible mortgage fraud. Joining us now is the CEO of VetCom US, an important service for disabled veterans, and the author of The Race to Save America, Kate Monroe. A lot to talk about today, Kate, with you. So let's get right to it. That whistleblower staffer said when he warned Schiff and other attendees leaking classified information that it was illegal, they said not to worry because no one would be caught. Kate, does this help make the case that Democrats were weaponizing our institutions against the American people?
I mean, I think this and about 1,000 other things make the case, but you have to ask yourself the more important question. Let's say that this makes the case, like this is the final nail in the coffin. To what end? Like, what is the point? Great. It'll be another thing that we go, oh, we really got them. I guarantee you they're still going to be in office. The lack of accountability, the lack of ever finding out when you mess around too much in this country is appalling. And you wonder why crime's up. When our politicians are allowed to do whatever they want, it's just like if you act nasty and then you expect, like if you cuss a lot and you expect your children not to cuss, you're wrong. You know, we are wrong in our government, the way that we prosecute and police ourselves. And then you wonder why you have an unruly nation.
Yeah, I've got to say an amen to you. I'm tired of hearing, until something gets done. President Donald Trump's decision to deploy approximately 800 National Guard troops to help quell violence in the nation's capital. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said this, quote, "We're not going to have National Guard seeing a crime being committed and not do something about it." So do you think soldiers taking action to protect D.C. citizens will be well received?
I'm sure that there's some on the left that aren't going to receive it well, even if they understand that it is in the best interest of the people that they serve. It's a lot of gaslighting and grandstanding. Anytime that there is civil unrest, there are homicides, there's drug abuse, there's homelessness and lawlessness running rampant. If you are, like I'm a parent of an 8-year-old, I would absolutely welcome lawfulness and the National Guard. I was in the Marine Corps. This is exactly what the National Guard is for. And I appreciate that Pete Hegseth has said, we're not just going to stand idly by like we did out there in LA. No, we're going to definitely be here scooping them up, getting them in jail, and stopping them from this criminal action. I'm here for it. I love it. But certainly people are going to whine and cry about it. But they whine and cry about pretty much anything. Apparently you can whine and cry about jeans. So, welcome to America.
You're exactly right. So let's go to LA for a second. White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt challenged Democrat Governor Gavin Newsom on Tuesday on threats that he's made to sue the Trump administration for a $1 billion settlement they're seeking from UCLA for civil rights violations. Here she is.
This administration is well within its legal right to do this, and we want to ensure that our colleges and our universities are respecting the First Amendment rights and the religious liberties of students on their campuses, and UCLA has failed to do that.
Okay, Harvard, Columbia, and other schools that allowed blatant anti-Semitism on their campuses have been settling or working toward it. So do you really think Governor Newsom can block a UCLA settlement? Would he do that?
Well, he's threatening quite a lot of things right now, isn't he? He's being awfully brave. I could tell you, as someone who resides here in California, I tried to make my own foray into politics. I will be going out of my way to stop this man from doing anything else. The audacity of him trying to step to the president of the United States like they are on a schoolyard is not only embarrassing, it is unwarranted. It is absolutely makes us look ridiculous to the rest of the world and to all the rest of the states. Living here in California, I feel like we are literally the laughingstock of the United States with our governor. It's just appalling to me. I don't think he's going to prevail.
Okay. Thank you, Kate. We'll come back to you in just a moment. Mike?
Greg, the Uvalde, Texas School District has started installing advanced artificial intelligence technology that will spot firearms on school grounds and trigger immediate lockdowns. The move comes after the 2022 Robb Elementary School massacre, where a lone gunman shot and killed 19 children and 2 educators. The incident exposed critical lapses in law enforcement's 77-minute response. According to News Nation, the AI initiative was fully funded by a $400,000 grant from a private company, Omnalert. According to the report, company officials say the technology can detect, verify, and respond to gun threats within 30 seconds. The district has already beefed up security, installed non-scalable fencing, and round-the-clock monitoring. The new AI technology will scan live feeds from current security cameras using specialized algorithms to identify visible guns in under 30 seconds. When it detects a gun, it verifies the threat, locks the doors, activates alarms, and alerts school leaders and law enforcement. Just a couple of weeks after a deadly shooting at its headquarters building in New York City, the National Football League indicated it wants good guys with guns to protect the league. On July 28th, a gunman allegedly targeted the NFL, killing 4 people and seriously injured 1 before taking his own life. Now, according to NBC News, the NFL has issued a memo recommending 3 new security measures for all 32 teams. First, update threat assessments at all team and league facilities. Secondly, have armed officers present whenever players or staff are on site. And lastly, screen for weapons at all entrances using magnetometers and X-ray machines. The memo stresses safety as the league's top priority, despite the operational and financial impact. Tim.
Mike, even though President Trump is removing most of the incentives for buying electric vehicles, well, the Ford Motor Company is moving forward with EV production. In an announcement on Monday, Ford CEO Jim Farley and Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear highlighted a nearly $2 billion commitment at the Louisville Assembly Plant for a new electric midsize pickup. Ford says it plans on spending $1.9 billion on new equipment and technology to modernize the plant. The initiative will add no new jobs, but will reportedly secure the 2,200 current jobs at the plant. Beshear touted one of the largest investments on record in his state, adding, Ford and Kentucky have been a tremendous team for more than 100 years, and that partnership has never been stronger than it is today. Fior?
Tim, the Department of Justice announced Friday the transfer of 14 Mexican nationals serving prison sentences for drug distribution-related convictions in the U.S. Back to their home country. The DOJ reported the transfer was made per the prisoner transfer treaty with the Mexican government. Under the program, approved foreign national inmates incarcerated in U.S., federal and state prisons under certain circumstances can be transferred to their home countries to serve the remainder of their sentence. The program allows the transfer to go either direction, to or from the U.S. Acting Assistant Attorney General Matthew Gagliotti said the Justice Department will continue such transfers pursuant to our treaty with Mexico to reduce incarceration costs and relieve overcrowding in our federal prisons. The Vallarta Daily reported the transfers will save the U.S. government $4 million in incarceration costs. The illegal immigrant from El Salvador, convicted in April of raping and murdering 37-year-old Rachel Morin, will now spend the rest of his life in prison. On Monday, a Maryland judge sentenced Victor Antonio Martinez Hernandez to life in prison without the possibility of parole. He also received a second life sentence and another 40 years in prison for raping and bludgeoning the Maryland mother of 5 in 2023 while she was walking down a trail. Martinez Hernandez is reportedly tied to the violent MS-13 gang and was deported from the U.S. Back to Mexico 3 times in 2023. It is unclear why he was not repatriated to his native El Salvador. Martinez Hernandez managed to get back into the United States, allegedly assaulting a woman and her child in California before making his way to Maryland, where he raped and murdered Morin. Mike?
Fewer higher tariffs on China and Chinese goods by the United States were postponed for 90 days on Monday. In a post on Truth Social, President Trump announced he signed an executive order delaying planned tariff hikes on China until November 9th. The order extends a temporary trade deal reached in May that reduced U.S. tariffs, that is, on Chinese imports from 145% down to 30%, and China's tariffs on U.S. imports from 125% to 10%. The president said trade talks with China are going well and hinted at a possible meeting with President Xi before year's end. Right now, let's talk with the premier analyst on U.S.-Chinese relations. He is the author of Plan Red, China's Project to Destroy America. Gordon Chang, welcome to Victory News. J.D. Vance, sir, was focused on China and trade when Maria Bartiromo on Sunday asked if President Trump would place tariffs on China for purchasing Russian oil as he did with India. Here is his response.
Well, the president said he's thinking about it, but he hasn't made any firm decisions. Obviously, the China issue is a little bit more complicated because our relationship with China, it affects a lot of other things that have nothing to do with the Russian situation. So the president's reviewing his options and, of course, going to make that decision when he decides.
Gordon, besides being furious, if I were India, can you advance his comment that the Chinese situation is, well, more complicated?
It is more complicated in the sense that there are more issues involved, and China poses a much greater threat to the United States than any other country. But the problem here is that essentially the Chinese now make the argument that they basically own the United States, that they can push us around. Now, I'm sure that President Trump doesn't think that he's submissive. But the point is, that's the way the Chinese think. They are now acting bolder, and they are propagating this narrative around the world, which makes it much harder for President Trump because countries want to bandwagon with strong countries, and they see China as strong and the United States as weak. So President Trump needs to do something to remedy this situation fast.
Now, Gordon, the Wall Street Journal is reporting Li Yujian Chao, a senior Chinese diplomat seen as a potential foreign minister, has been taken away by CCP authorities for questioning. Your take on this and if it affects U.S.-Chinese relations?
I think that it does affect U.S.-China relations because it makes the regime right now in a position where it can't compromise with anybody, especially the United States. There's a lot of regime turmoil. We don't know exactly what's going on, but we've also got rumors that an aide close to Xi Jinping has been detained in the last couple of days. We don't know if that's true or not, but we're hearing a lot of rumors in a very short period of time about senior officials being taken out. And that means right now it's very hard to deal with China because they can't deal with the rest of the world constructively.
Now, Gordon, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth is turning up the heat on America's adversaries moving into the U.S. Listen to this.
I want to know who owns the land around our bases and strategic bases, and getting an understanding of why foreign entities, foreign companies, foreign individuals might be buying up land around those bases.
So, Gordon, is this a timely decision to crack down on the CCP and other adversaries purchasing U.S. land around U.S. military bases, at least?
It has to be done now because we've known about this situation for quite some time where there have been suspicious purchases by Chinese nationals. And, you got to remember that no American can own a square inch in China. So why are we allowing the Chinese to own hundreds of square miles here and also to rent warehouse space very close to American bases? So this is a critical national security threat.
Without question. Now, you posted today about South Korea's President Lee Jae-myung coming to the White House for a summit this month. What will Donald Trump be seeking, and what do you think Myung wants from the U.S.?
Well, I think President Trump wants to talk about the nature of the U.S. alliance with Korea, wanting to broaden it out. And also, he will talk trade. Lee Jae-myung just wants to get the U.S. off his back. He's making South Korea into a Chinese vassal state, and he's attacking the institutions of democracy in South Korea. So he just wants to get out of here with no commitments to the United States.
Yep. Now, after a meeting with the Five Eyes Alliance, FBI Director Kash Patel announced an FBI office opening in New Zealand. Tell us about the alliance and the purpose of an FBI office on the other side of the world.
Well, the Five Eyes, an intelligence consortium, and we share our most important secrets with the other four members. New Zealand is a Five Eyes member, but it is very close to China. And so I think that it's important to try to get Chinese influence out of New Zealand, and we have got a long way to go because the Chinese basically have their hooks into that country.
Now, you agreed with President Trump's original assessment that Intel should fire its CEO, Lip-Bu Tan, but wouldn't that action make an important but ailing company worse?
Yes, it would, but Bhutan has done a number of things that suggest that he was involved in a criminal conspiracy to sell America's most important technology to the Chinese military. That's just completely unacceptable. We have got to institute accountability for what looks like to be a series of critical crimes.
Accountability is right. Be sure to check out Gordon Chang's book, Plan Red, China's Project to Destroy America, and learn more about him at GordonChang.com and on X at Gordon G. Chang. Always great to have you with us, sir.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Fior.
Mike, President Donald Trump floated the idea of a lawsuit against Fed Chairman Jerome Powell today over his handling of construction on the Federal Reserve Complex and its price tag. On Truth Social, the president wrote in part, $3 billion for a job that should have been a $50 million fix-up. Not good. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt addressed the lawsuit during today's press briefing.
He's considering a lawsuit, and I won't speak on it any further. I will allow the president to do that himself.
Is it fair to say the administration is considering suing the Fed chair over this renovation?
That's what the president is saying.
Has he had discussions with anyone about this, or is this just how advanced is this right now?
At this moment in time, the president is considering a lawsuit against the Fed, and I will leave it to him to comment further on it.
The Fed's estimated cost of $1.9 billion for the renovations of the Federal Reserve Building have ballooned to $2.4 billion. According to the Fed's reasoning for the extra expense was the high cost of labor, materials, and unexpected challenges such as asbestos reduction. Tim?
Unexpected indeed, Fior. Now, President Trump had some positive words for former Meet the Press host Chuck Todd earlier today after the journalist praised Trump's influence on the U.S.
Look, I don't think we've had anybody have this much impact on the country since FDR. But I think culturally in particular, and certainly on our political identity, I think he's had, not since FDR, we had this kind of a president with, look, he wants to involve himself in everything.
Now Donald Trump responded as only he can on Truth Social, writing, "Wow, thank you, Chuck. I always said that you were far better than the scum that runs the fake news at NBC," end quote. According to Newsmax, Trump and Todd have shared a, quote, combative relationship over the years. Greg?
All right. Well, for the first time since 2015 in its landmark ruling, the U.S. Supreme Court will take up a case this fall that could result in the overturning of same-sex marriage. According to the New York Post, Kim Davis, the Christian Kentucky clerk who went to jail for refusing to issue a same-sex marriage license in 2015, is appealing a $100,000 jury verdict for emotional damages plus $260,000 for attorney's fees, according to the Post. In a 90-page filing last month, Davis asked the justices to review a lower court's 2022 finding that she violated same-sex couples' constitutional rights to marry and revisit its decision in the same-sex marriage case. Back in 2015, conservative Justice Antonin Scalia dissented the court's decision on gay marriage, writing, "This practice of constitutional revision by an unelected committee of 9 robs the people of the most important liberty they asserted in the Declaration of Independence and won in the Revolution of 1776, the freedom to govern themselves." Scalia said the High Court had dissented from disciplined legal reasoning to the mystic aphorisms of fortune cookies. Before we go, let's talk with Kate Monroe one more time. Kate, so the Supreme Court's going to look at the issue of same-sex marriage again through this Kentucky woman's case. Is there any possible way, do you see them overturning that decision and putting it back to the states?
I mean, it's interesting. It happened with abortion, right? I mean, that got turned back to the states. It's very difficult. I think people live in certain parts of the country because they like the ideology that comes along with living there. It's a cultural difference that you see across, like a lot of people live, you'll say in San Francisco, they're all for stuff like that, but people live in Kentucky, maybe they're not. I mean, it's hard to say. I do think that this particular one maybe should go back to the states. This is exactly, we're a republic. We're not, just a democracy. And I think that we have sort of got far and away from that. So it would be interesting to see what happens. I'm not a judge, so I don't know, but I'm here for it if it does go back to the states.
So when you were running for Congress, you had a policy promoting adoption. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's called the Adoption Acceleration Plan. I think my feeling was, after speaking to so many young women, I actually ended up sort of half adopting someone, and we ended up getting her baby adopted, and I ended up taking her in when she was in high school. And she told me many times, thank God I found you and I could get my baby adopted, because if I didn't know that was going to happen, I wouldn't have had my baby. She's like, you made it easy for me, so I was glad to bring this baby into the world. So the plan basically is you should be able to put on a fully vetted app where you can choose a family. There's already a fund, third-party fund, that's going to fund the healthcare and the delivery. You already picked a family. They're willing to take that child, and you can get a little bit of cash in your pocket for not getting rid of a baby that you were complicit in making. That's
a great thing. Great for the kids, great for people that want children. Be sure to learn more about Kate's work with disabled veterans by visiting vetcom.us. Learn more about her and her racetosaveamerica.com. Great to have you with us again today, Kate. Thank you so much. All right, as we go today, there's a phone number on the bottom of the screen for you. It's 877-281-6297. Let me repeat that again. It's 877-281-6297. It's a number you can call. A licensed, trained prayer minister will pray with you. Lord, thank you for the information we've learned today in the news on Victory News. Maybe we be responsible with it and do something positive with what we've learned. We thank you for that. In your mighty name we pray. Amen. Our thanks to Kate Monroe, Gordon Chang, and especially you. Thanks for joining us. We return tomorrow at 6 Eastern, 5 Central, with America's frontline doctors, Dr. Jeff Barkey, and StandAmerica.us President Bishop E.W. Jackson. Make sure you join us then. The World Reports the Problem. Victory Channel brings the answer. Whatever is born of God overcomes the world. And this is the victory that's overcome the world, our faith. 1 John chapter 5, verse 4. So stay in faith. Have a blessed evening, and I will look for you tomorrow. Bye for now.